I'm so loud.
You're so loud.
What did I do that was so loud?
So, okay.
I exhaled.
For our listeners and our watchers, or what is it, our hearers and our watchers.
You made it up. You're asking me what it is?
You did the hearers. I got the watchers.
Jeez.
So every time we play the music to record, we pipe it through, and then we're live, basically. We have the mics live.
Right.
So we try to be quiet. And
You try to be quiet.
Every single time we go to record, he's like sipping his soda. He's like, he was kind of frustrated before we started. We were having some technical issues, and he's like sighing through his nose really loud, like angrily. And I don't know if the microphone picks it up or not, but I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Remember, I'm the one with the headphones on. I hear what the microphone picks up. If I don't hear it, it's fine.
But haven't you not heard stuff and then it came through before? I believe that's happened.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course you know.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Homewrecker
Hi.
Podcast. Hi. Speaking of which, remember, we're doing a show now.
Yes. Hello.
Should probably do a proper introduction, I suppose, right?
Why not?
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway. Hi, everybody. I'm the Golden Greek, Alex area, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, the lovely Monique.
Hello.
Yes. And we are here this week.
Yes.
It's another week. Another week has gone by. We're getting closer and closer to winter.
Yes.
It's getting colder and colder.
Yes.
And the air's getting drier and drier.
Mm-hmm.
And getting really more and more ornery.
Yeah, he is.
And miserable.
I don't know.
Darn it.
The last week has been rough for us, hasn't it? Maybe not you?
Rough in what way?
Well, I fell down the stairs. I sprained my wrist.
That's like another Tuesday for you, though. Come on.
No, but I hurt myself. And then it was just like a crazy week, stuff going on. And then my dad wasn't doing very well. He had an issue. We had to take him to the hospital. So he seems to be good, knock on wood. So shout out to my dad and my mom because I love you guys and you're awesome. And I hope by the time this episode comes out, you're still all doing well.
Yes.
But so dealing with that was kind of scary and stressful. And,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so it's been a doozy of a week.
Yeah.
And as we record this, the election is tomorrow. So by the time it comes out, it will have already happened. But as we record, we don't know yet.
We said that last week, too.
Yeah, well, it just shows you how far out we are.
Not that far out. Like a week, maybe.
Yeah, a week or two.
Yeah.
But this is a very exciting episode because we have a very special guest.
Who's that?
Michelle Johnston. So remember last week we were talking about our human design charts and how we had a reading done with Michelle? Well, she's on our show this week. Yay!
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'm
yes,
excited.
our special guest is Michelle.
Yes.
Yeah, she was awesome doing the human design readings. So she's going to be on in a little bit talking about what is human design.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to ask her a bunch of questions, about how she got involved in it and everything. So
we're going to talk a little bit about our readings and our charts.
I don't know if I'm going to ask a lot of questions about mine. I kind of like my privacy.
Well, I'll let her use mine as an example.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. So we'll go over some of our some of the things that I definitely found I found the whole thing interesting, but
he's looking at his chart right now for those watching.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and it's pretty. I mean, we're holding it up to a camera that is not going to be able to tell what the heck it says. Right?
We printed
a blurb to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting, and yeah, looking forward to speaking with Michelle more about it.
Yes. So before we jump into that, is there anything else that you want to discuss?
I don't want to talk to you about anything right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
No, I'm great for the most part. We had kind of a rough week, I guess, but whatever. It's life. It happens.
But that's the thing. Like, as rough as the week was, it was like in the grand scheme of things, it was still good. Like everything's okay.
So far. So far.
Yeah, I mean.
By the time this airs, the world could be in complete chaos. Who knows? And they'll be listening to us going, don't they know what's going on? Well, we are recording this on November 2nd, so yeah, anything that may be happening as you're listening to this.
I honestly think the world would be in complete chaos, and I'd just be like, que sera, whatever will be. Like, make the best of it. Just, you know how I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just my nature.
We can only control how we react and how we act, right?
Yep.
So,
and the reason why I'm like this is because of the way I was born this way, okay? Ow. Sorry, my arm's still a little messed up.
All right. Are we done talking about
yes.
miserabilities?
Yes.
Is that even a word? Whatever. It
well,
is
we
now.
Just made it up.
I just made it up. We're done talking about our physical misfortunes and stuff.
Yes, let's go on to the awesomeness.
All right. So, we'll be back in a moment with Michelle Johnston talking about human design.
Yay! All right, and we're back, and we have our very special guest. She is a human design reader, and her name is Michelle Johnston. Michelle, thank you for being on our show.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
So I'm looking nerdy, but I always get super excited when people who I really like and respect come on the show, because I find you so interesting, and when you gave me my reading, we had such a good conversation, and then we found out we had things in common. It was just really cool, and I'm like, I love this person. So I just get super excited that you're here. So thank you for being here.
Wow, thank you for having me, and I'm equally excited to be here with you guys. You know, as I was thinking about today and getting on, I was just feeling like I'm coming on talking to old friends that I've known for years.
Yay!
Awesome.
So I want to ask, where are you from? Because you're from Canada, not the United States.
Right. I'm from just outside of Toronto.
Okay.
You will hear my weird Canadian-isms come out.
I love it.
That's fun.
So we should have a Canadian bingo or something when you hear me say oot or whatever.
Well, I noticed Canadians, how they say sorry, but I love how it's said. So it's pretty awesome. Oh, but it looks like we're freezing. Hold on.
We freeze?
Technical difficulties. We just froze for a second, so it's back.
All right.
But yeah, I love the accent. I love I think it's so cute.
I know. I think you guys, your accent's so cute as well. And I do say sorry. I say it a lot.
I love it.
So I won't say it tonight, but it's big.
You have nothing to apologize for, Missy. So just remember that. All right, so let's get cracking. So why don't you tell us about yourself and briefly how you got into human design, and then we'll kind of go into what it's all about.
Sure, no, that sounds great. So I am a woman of many backgrounds, if you will, but I've owned a corporate wellness company for 17 years. So very entrepreneurial, and love that. I have a background in anthropology. That's what I went to school for.
Wow.
And later on, I went back to school for holistic nutrition. And I just get interested in things, and I need to know more, which is actually a part of my design. And then I don't know, it feels like 3 years ago, but it may have been sooner. I was on Instagram, and a woman I knew put out a little feeler. Has anybody ever heard of human design? Would you like to know more about it? And I was like, yeah, it's a Sunday or whatever. I've got nothing to do. And we had this, felt like 2-hour conversation where she was dropping little tidbits about human design to me that was very specifically tailored for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was instantly obsessed with it from that point on.
It's really amazing because anyone who's listening who knows nothing about human design, it's weird because it's very integral. There's so much to it, but at the same time, it's kind of simple. It's like, here's your information. This is why you are the way you are. And we talked about this on last week's show when we mentioned you when we had a reading. For me personally, getting a reading, it made me feel better about myself because these things, for me, I can be my biggest critic. I'm great at picking out flaws. And so I think okay, so I know these are my problems. I'm aware, and I try to stop myself from doing things sometimes, and I can't. And I know that's something I need to work on. But instead of being harder on myself about it, it's like, well, because this is the way I was designed, so it's okay. At least I realize it. It makes you feel better. And then it's like, why am I like this? And how come this? It's like, because it's the way I'm designed. So it really gives people an out for things. It's like, oh, it's just my design. I can't help it.
Yeah, it's really cool, Monique, because I'm really fascinated by language. If I'm in a training, like a big group training, I'm always watching the instructor, and I'm just like analyzing how they got the message across so succinctly, the right combination of words, right? You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then what you just said is exactly how I feel about it too. It's like, to just even say the words, well, it's actually how I'm designed. It not only makes you feel better, but it actually does something to the person on the other end of the conversation, where they can also relax, because it's like, oh, okay, there's a design at play here. There's a beauty and a grace to this whole thing. And it really takes a lot of guesswork out of who we are supposed to be as humans. And I just think that's so cool.
And another thing, as we get in and talk a little bit more about it, just for everyone listening and watching, it's something that it helps you learn about things you can work on to give you a successful path in life. So if you're like, for me, and we'll get into a little bit more, I'll talk a bit about my profile, but I'm a projector, but I need to be invited to things. So often when I try to help somebody and I give them advice, especially with my parents and stuff, it's like, I'll tell them something and they don't listen. And then like a month later, they'll say something, oh, well, we went here, or so-and-so told us this. And I'm like, I told you that a month ago and you didn't listen to me. Like, get so frustrated. But it's like, it's because they were just telling me something. They weren't asking for my opinion. And I really need to be invited for people to take in that knowledge and understand it and appreciate it. So I was like, okay, so just keep my mouth shut or don't get frustrated about it. So it helps you learn a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about human design?
Yeah, that's perfect. So, and let me know if you can still hear me okay at any point.
Yeah, it freezes a little here and there.
Okay.
We'll catch up. No, but it's good now.
We'll blame Canada for that. That's Canada's infrastructure. No, I'm just joking. Just kidding. Yeah, so human design is incredibly intricate and complex, but the sort of the introductory explanation of it is it's a system that is synthesized from 4 or 5 different schools of thoughts or belief systems, I guess you could say. So what it does is it takes astrology. So it takes your birth time, your birthplace, and your birth date you need those basic details in order to get started. Then what it'll do is it'll kind of pull in astrology to your design, and then it'll pull in information from the chakra system. So this, we know sort of the 7 major chakras. Human design kind of actually looks at it a little bit more closely into 9 centers. So astrology, the chakra systems, the I Ching, the tree of life, and it sort of, and then quantum, it's not quantum physics, just quantum, see, I've lost the quantum realm. There we go. Okay. And so it sort of puts one layer on top of the other, and then it kind of creates this whole new map out of those 4 and 5 different pieces. And from that, you have the most intricate map of, just your being, who you are here to be in life. And it's amazing.
It really is. After our appointment, I was like, okay, we need to get the kids. I was like, I'm trying to tell everybody, like, I think every human being on this planet should have a human design reading, even if it's just like just one appointment, just to kind of get a better grip and a better understanding, because again, it made me feel a lot better about myself. And even if that's the only reason, or just like to understand, like, I always question, like, why am I the way I am? And I always feel like I never fit in. And it's like, I always feel like the odd person out, no matter how hard I try, I just never fit. And so this answered a lot of those questions for me. So anyone out there, like whoever questions why they are the way they are, I can't tell you enough, like how much this will make sense to you and make you feel better, because it's like, we're all supposed to be the way we are.
Oh my gosh. And it's really interesting you mentioned the kids, because I never thought that I would read for kids, for parents rather. I'm not reading for the children, but I'm reading the kids' charts for parents. And that has turned out to be so rewarding. And the way that I look at reading for kids is, kids have a lot to learn. They've got a lot of stretching and moving and growing to do, and they've got mistakes to make, and they've got life to live. But if you can kind of get a snapshot of their energy, how their energy moves throughout the world, throughout the household, what their nap routines should look like, the rest, how they expend energy, if you can get a sense of that, you can kind of guide them with a little bit more peace. And honestly, how different are children from one another?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah. I mean, we have 3 boys, and each they're all different. It's awesome, but it can be, trying at times. Trying to get everything in sync. Yeah. I mean, for us, we look at it like we have our middle child. I was like, he's got to be a generator. He's just like nonstop energy. But like, again, one of the things about, with myself, I'm a projector, and I feel like I always need to be doing something, but like I will work my butt off. I will work really hard, but after like 4, even 5 hours, I'm done. Like, it doesn't mean I'm necessarily like laying on the couch. It just means like, okay, I'm done. I need to take a rest, maybe move on to something else. But like, I work my butt. I'm very productive in that time. But then it's like, okay, that's it. And then like, I like to go to bed early. I'm a morning person, but it's just like, and then it was like, well, that's because you're a projector. It's not like people, I guess, look at us like we're lazy because after so many hours, we're done compared to a generator who's just like, nope, we're going to keep going. And it's like, okay, nope, I'm done.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So I always feel lazy and I feel like bad because I'm like, okay, I've had enough of this. And he's just like, nope, keep going, getting it done.
Have I ever called you lazy?
No, but it's that internal thing because I see others who are like nonstop. And I'm just like, why am I not like that? Why do I feel just so drained right now? Because I'm a projector, because it was the way I was designed. I'm not lazy.
That's right. And then you've got Alex who knows what that means. And you guys can now make room for each other's needs, your design to have its own space in the household.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's why I think, and again, why I'm like, oh my gosh, every family, every couple, just every person. I was like, offices, like if you, like any place of employment should do this so like people can understand each other better. Like just everyone should know and say, you're like, okay, well, I'm this and this is why. Oh, okay, and you're this. Awesome. And we could all like, what's really sad as I'm saying this is it shouldn't matter. We shouldn't need reasons why we are the way we are. People should just be understanding. But it's like at least knowing how people are, it might give them something to find things in common or interesting to learn about other people. So it's just wonderful.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. You guys talk about like, wouldn't it be great if workplaces had this knowledge? I would love that. And I just can't get over like asking people to send me their birth time and date. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I hope we get there. But like, would that be weird?
Well, it's interesting because there's so many people I know that are super into astrology, and they're like, any date I go on, they're like, I want your birth date. I want when you were born. Like, I want to know everything because I want to know if this is going to work. And even like friends, they're like, nope. Okay, what was your birth date? What time were you born? And one thing I also want to let people know that we were nervous about was if you don't know your exact birth time, I know mine, but Alex doesn't know his. Yeah, we knew it was around a certain time.
Yeah, I have like a rough estimate.
Yeah. So we knew it was around a certain time and everything was still accurate. We put in the estimated time. Yeah. So if you don't know that exact on the minute, it still seems to work.
Yeah, there's a couple ways we can work around it. So you can either try to rectify your birth time using some fancy astrology software, or we can kind of hop around a little bit on the day of and see what changes, and then talk to those pieces. Yeah. And so I think there are workarounds, but it is great if you kind of generally know, you know, the morning or afternoon and that.
Like if you know it was around like 7 o'clock at night, but you're not sure if it was like 7:05 or 7:12 or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
It still seems to work, because that's like anytime you want to get like your astrology chart, or even like with this, it's like, wait a minute, what time was I born? Quick, let me call my parents and find out, because I have my time, but most people probably don't. So, yeah, but it's good to find out, like just in general. So if you're listening or watching, you should know when you were born. It'll help you in life.
And it is a bit of an obsessive thing. Like once you get into human design, you walk around like you do want to ask people, like, okay, look, if they're telling you they're going through something or whatever, it's like really hard not to just be like, hey, you know, do you want to take a look at your chart? And by the way, you can have all this info. And if they have it on the ready, it's like so exciting. And some of the best readings that I've done for people have just been on the fly, you know, where friends are over and it's kind of like a quiet night in. Weren't those the days before COVID?
I know.
And
right.
Quiet night in.
Yeah, right. Just with friends and and then they leave just mind blown, going like, oh my God, exactly what you guys have said. It's like, wow, I feel so seen. I feel so validated, and there's nothing to change about me. There's just, you know, stuff to embrace. And it's very like, you just want to know everybody's design when you start to get into this. It's just so cool.
Now, after our reading, I was like, okay, I want to learn more about this, because I was like, I want to know more, because like, so the reading is about 1 hour, and I just dropped my chart, excuse me. Alrighty. I'm sorry, I dropped my chart. So it's 1 hour, but I'm going to hold it up to the camera for like anybody watching. So there's a lot of information on that, and there's not necessarily time to go over every single tiny little thing. We go over a lot of information. So I was like looking at the body and kind of like understanding more about what's colored and what's not, and like the numbers and figuring it out. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is so awesome. And I was like, I just want to learn more, because I obviously need to like get into everything myself, and because it's my nature. And but it was just so fascinating, because it's not like this thing where you're only like one of a couple things. It's not like you're either in box A, B, C, or D. The combination for everyone, I'm trying to think of how I can put it into words. It's just so vast. It's almost like when you think about how big the universe really is, the possibilities that are there. It's the same thing with this. There are so many potential outcomes. So everyone is so different. Some people might have some of the bigger things in common, but once you start really getting down to like all the little fine parts, you realize like, wow, this is what really shows how unique each individual is. And it's mind-blowing. It's just like, holy smokes, if there's so much information. So props to you for being able to do this and hold all of that information, because trying to understand it all, it's like, okay, so we have basically the type of person you are. So do you want to talk a little bit about the types first?
For sure. And I've got your chart open here too. And I was like, oh, of course we hit it off. We're both Sagittarius.
Yes.
Like, two Saggies who don't hit it off like crazy. So so the first thing that we look at, I sort of call it like the primary colors of human design. So there's like the basics, there's the things you need to know and that you need to start at. So that first building block we look at is your type. So human design has a lingo that goes along with it. I actually really like that about it. It feels like you've just learned another language, and it's an easier language than an actual foreign language to learn. So we start off looking at what your type is, and there are 5 different types. So everybody listening, everybody watching right now, you would fit into one of these 5 primary types. So we've got manifestors, generators, projectors, reflectors, and manifesting generators. So those are the titles, and you can already see what I'm talking about when I say it's got a lingo attached. We talked a little bit about projector stuff already. So each of those 5 types, what we're looking at there is how you're, and this may sound a little like far out there or whatever, and that's okay if this kind of swings out a bit for you, but what we're looking at, human design talks about the language of your aura, and really if we look at what that means, like what's behind that label, it's how your energy interacts with the world around it. So I'm not talking like, oh, what color is your aura or anything like that. I'm talking about like when you walk into a room, what do people energetically notice about you, or what does your energy do without you even having to think about it? So that's the first thing that you want to understand about yourself, is what kind of energy you're bringing to life. And so, projectors, since we talked a little bit about yours, Monique, projectors are, as you said, very perceptive. And the way a projector's energy works is it's very penetrating. There's this ability to take in the environment around you and really synthesize what's going on. And you guys are often way ahead of the rest of us, except for maybe reflectors. They're also very, very keenly aware of what's going on. But yeah, that ability to kind of penetrate into the situation is how your energy works. And it's so vastly different from every other type out there. So that's the first thing to kind of to pause and take a look at. It's like, well, what energy type am I according to human design?
Awesome. Yes, it's right there. So it's like you start with, you have your type, and it kind of breaks into that. Yeah. And that right there, just knowing your type, I think is huge for people. If they can at least know their type, it's so much information.
Yeah, we are living in a world that is built for Alex. So Alex is a generator, and 70% of the population are generators. And which is helpful to know. It's really helpful to know.
Yeah.
Because generators are here. Okay, great. And generators are here to work and to love the work that they do. And the rest of us, we're not really here to do that hard work. And I don't mean hard work, but I just mean like we're not built to go to bed exhausted at the end of the day, having used up every bit of it. We need a bit to plant ourselves for tomorrow. Yes. Yeah. So for you being a generator, do you resonate with how that works? Like to love what you get into? And
oh, big time. Yeah. I mean, and it's like we were talking before about energy and stuff. For me, if I'm into something, I'll just keep going till I'm done. And I can, when you say go to bed exhausted, I feel like I don't sleep well. I mean, for a number of reasons, but I think one of those reasons is because I'm just not tired enough.
Right.
If that makes any sense. Because I mean, I'll you know this. Yeah. I'll have days where I'm just like, I feel like I didn't do anything today. And you're like, you did so much. I'm like, I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But I mean, if you list out everything I did throughout the day, you'd be like, what? And for me, it's like, I didn't do anything. I feel like I didn't do anything, So yeah, like what you said, when I got this reading done, it totally made sense. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So part of it could be like I just can't help myself. So part of the that not being tired enough or not getting a good enough sleep, even though the rest of us observing you, like you've been busy all day, you've done a variety of things. So for a generator, for you, it's helpful if you achieve what you wanted to achieve. If those things were meaningful for you, if they were like you were taking big chunks out of important stuff in your life or on a project, that will exhaust you. That will get you good and tired. But for the rest of us, it's just like we watch you and we're like, ooh, I need a nap because the thought of getting that much expenditure.
Yeah, it's like, wow, you look so busy. Just tired watching. I'm going to go take a nap.
Yeah, it's so cool. Lately, so I'm a manifester, which is we make up 8 to 9% of the population. So when I do reading, I just get so excited when I see manifestors because we're so rare and we're really not built to work either. We're built to instigate and get things started and get people excited, and when I learned that, like, I have my own business, I've got 2 businesses, and the woman who taught me human design was like, yeah, you're not here to work. And I'm like, come again?
Yeah, what?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, that sounds fine, but things have got to get done. So it's a process of learning. So human design basically asks you to just like consider the possibility that what we're saying is a truth. Don't believe it like it is. I certainly wouldn't want anybody to just like take what I say and then just do that.
Mm-hmm.
But play with it for a while. So it would took like a year and a half of like tweaking, like micro experiences in life, and like, okay, I'm sitting down and I'm working. Okay, a client has a real demand that I've got to work on. And I'm like, what does it mean that I'm not here to work? I'm here to get things started. So it's been like a process for all of us to kind of like, okay, go back, revisit our life. How have we been doing it? Has it been working for us? Right. And then go like slowly over time, for me, for example, I'm like, right, I get exhausted when I try to finish things like a generator. I get exhausted. So I'm here to like get the party started. I'm here to like hatch possibilities. And then I'm passing it off, I'm passing it off to a projector who's like, okay, guys, Michelle said she opened the conversation up. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit more in detail. And then we've got Alex. He's like, yeah, man. And I can do that. Like, I'm going to put my energy onto it. And we've all got a part to play, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like this team building exercise. So we all have our different roles and everyone kind of takes on their own part to get the job done. And I was just thinking, like, as you were talking about what you were saying, and I just thought, imagine if society functioned that way. If they said, okay, so you're a manifestor, you're a reflector, you're a generator, you're a projector. So why don't we look at it from this approach? And so you take this on and then you take this on. And it just, I think how much more efficient we would all be.
We'd have world peace.
I know.
Maybe.
We
harmony,
would,
at least.
Yes, I think we would have at least world harmony. I think that it makes me think, wow, we could do so much more and help each other so much more and heal each other so much more if we could just function this way.
Oh my gosh. I love that you saying that. 20 years ago when I was starting out in the working world, I had this vision. I used to want to be a corporate training and development professional. Mm-hmm. And my whole thing was I just wanted people to feel great about the work that they were doing. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be awesome if we all just honored and respected each other's gifts and instead of like, going after the right job and being a manager when really we're better at the doing.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is it. This is totally it. And the cool thing is when a family or a group of friends get to know their human design, it's a real process to get to learn what your own chart is. And then when you expand to like, okay, well, I'm going to learn about all 5 energy types. I'm going to learn about all these other pieces. Mm-hmm. You have this synthesis within groups, within families where you can just let each other be. It's like, my husband knows, well, he's a manifestor too. Isn't that so funny how rare they are?
Yeah.
And so is my mom. So that's really wild that, we don't get on each other's nerves when we need a rest or, we're going to just take a pause. It's like we really get it. And it's actually really nice because for the working type, for generators who are here to really like use up all their energy all day long, for the rest of us, like, we feel like we judge ourselves against those standards.
Yeah.
Right. We may have had messages from our parents or our teachers like, hey, what's wrong with you? Like, get it together. And when you can like give everybody space to do what they need to do, it's so beautiful. Yeah. It really is.
Well, it's also like just understanding even with friendship, it's like, I had a really busy day. I'm exhausted. I need to go to bed at 7 o'clock. I can't go out at night. Because people look at you and they're like, because I used to get made fun of by my friends. They'd like give me the old lady emoji because I'm literally like 7, 8 o'clock. I'm in bed. It's how I am. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Doesn't mean I'm going to go to sleep at 7. It's just I need to be laying down. I need to be like comfortable. And again, I just thought, well, I'm just it's tired and I'm just a morning person and that's going to be it. But again, learning I'm a projector, it's like it's the way my energy is. And it's like I need to lay down before I get way overtired. I need to kind of settle myself, and that way I can rest properly. And it's true, because if I'm not like in bed when I need to be and I have to keep going, I don't sleep well.
Yeah. Oh my God. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I feel like lately, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. So yeah, lately, I've been like obsessed with, deeper and deeper and deeper layers of human design. I'm just like, oh my God, I've got these new resources. I've got this new, like, training that I'm going on. And I'm just like, give me all the things all the time, thinking like, oh, this is never going to end. I'm constantly, and then it's like, I hit a wall a couple weeks ago, and I'm like dragging myself to the computer, dragging myself to the book. And I'm like, you must learn because this is awesome. And like, but my manifester is like, no, we are saturated. Like, we need to now pause on that and go and do something completely different. Regenerate yourself by leaving that alone for a bit. And it's interesting because manifestors have, and I'll often speak about my own experience. It's actually in my design. It's kind of funny to teach through example. But lately I've just been really bumping up again. I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, if I was a generator, I would absolutely keep chewing through this material, like ferociously, like just going. And then the little voice inside of my head, it's like, yeah, you're trying to be you're trying to be a generator right now. Your internal guidance system is like, no, put it down. Like, you're going to kill yourself if you keep doing this with so it's just so it's been really present for me lately, that piece.
And I'm kind of the same way too. Like, I want to learn everything, I want to know everything, I want to do everything, and kind of goes into like our profile type, because I'm a 3-5, a martyr heretic. And so I like, part of that is I need to do everything myself. I want to learn, but I also get to the point with something where I need a break, because either as much as I'm enjoying it, I get to the point of like, okay, I'm exhausted and I need to stop for a little bit. And then I can pick up again. But it's like, I can't just be this intense, focused energy, even if I want to. I'm just like, I need to stop. I kind of need to like either go on to something else for a little bit and then go back to it. Or I just need to stop and then give myself a break and go back to it. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Because why can't I just be a normal person and get through this? And it's like, okay, it's not my design. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm wondering, like, so I talked about the primary colors of human design. So if anybody's wondering what those other pieces are, those foundational pieces. So the other things that we look at are something called your strategy. And your strategy is very unique to each energy type. And it kind of helps keep you, it's sort of like an emotional guidance system, if you will. It gives you like an exalted version of how you could feel, like sort of a feeling that's good. So let's say for projectors, the feeling would be success, like having this like, oh, and to feel successful with like having your message be met with thanks and receptivity. It's like, man, that was a job well done. Versus the other end of that, when things aren't going well, the energetic signature is more like a bitterness or like a resentfulness, like, God, I just gave you everything. And then like 2 months later, you tell me so-and-so told me to do this. And it's like, I literally told you that, guys, over and over again. So this ping-ponging between this emotional guidance system, it keeps you, like knowing, oh, am I out of alignment? Have I, like, those cars now, like when you start to veer into the lane, it like gives you a jolt, like not a jolt, but like a buzz or something, like a signal. It's like that. You're like, oh, okay, I'm not feeling great emotionally.
I'm feeling very bitter. Beep, 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 beep. Get back in my lane.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that bitterness is coming up. I don't like that. I don't want to live in that state. Then you can like check yourself. You can go back and do an inventory and just be like, okay, was I acting out of turn? Did all these things? Like, did I have expectations for other people that they were not ready to meet, and that kind of stuff? And you can slowly work yourself back to that success platform. So each type has it. Generators have theirs. And we all have ours. So you're looking at your energetic signatures. And then we have 7 different types of decision-making techniques. And each person will have one that's dominant. And what we say in human design is, okay, so there's conscious and unconscious parts to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really cool is, okay, so at the time of your birth, our birth, anyone's birth, we are being imprinted by the placement of the stars. And all of this to me sounded crazy. Like, as much as I even love astrology and I love the woo, like really, I mean, I don't know, like this whole thing is woo basically behind me. It's which if you can't see it, it's my bookshelf. It's just loaded with like woo resources. But like, I have believed things in the past. I have like, sold them to other people only to find out like there was no substance behind those things that I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a little bit nervous to just be like, have such conviction about something. So when I hear from human design, like we're imprinted at the time of our birth, and actually like by the placement of the stars and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, whatever. But the more I work with this, the more it makes sense to me. So what human design says is there are things called neutrinos, which are teeny tiny subatomic particles, and they exist all the time, all around us, and they are influenced by the planetary alignments. And they move through matter. That's how teeny tiny they are. And so at the time of our birth, the planetary alignments are affecting these little teeny tiny subatomic particles that then imprint on us as we come out into the world. And that's what gives us part of our chart, like part of our design. Those are our conscious aspects. And I think that's so interesting. But even more interesting than that is about 3 months before we're born, we have this unconscious genetic lineage DNA piece that gets imprinted within us as well. So it's more like our innate characters, qualities, things that we may, as we grow up, may not recognize. Other people may see these traits in us, but we may not. And so, so other people may not see those traits in us. And so we're working with like conscious and unconscious aspects with human design. And like that alone makes it endlessly fascinating. Like to get to know the parts of yourself that you've never met.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's crazy. The neutrinos thing. Wow. Like I'd heard of those before, but I didn't realize that was such a big piece of this. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I just got goose, like hearing you say that, and like really like that connected with you gives me this like visceral goosebump kind of head to toe feeling because
nice.
That's that moment of truth. That's that thing that's like, okay, well that makes sense. I've heard of neutrinos. Like all of a sudden astrology starts to make sense to us, right? Like all of these pieces, it's like, okay, that I can hang my hat on. Like that to me makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I know, like Oh, sorry. I just did your sorry. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard you. You're picking up.
With astrology and stuff like that. Like I remember growing up, and even just recently, presidents, a lot of world leaders have like astrologers that are like on staff because they make a lot of important decisions based on that, like a certain whatever the stars or the planets are aligned or whatever. And I mean, if you really dig deep down into esoteric, hidden type occult knowledge, it's all based on that. Like it all is. So for anybody listening that's skeptical or anything like that, you may not believe in it, but so many important decision makers and world leaders and the shot callers, if you will, they all believe in it. So it doesn't matter if we believe in it, they do, and they're the ones that are running the world. So just think about that if you're skeptical about any of this stuff.
I also look at it like, well, if you believe in just general like astrology, like, okay, I'm a Sagittarius, I'm a fire sign, I like to travel, or whatever it is, whatever they say. If you feel like that resonates with you in any shape or form, then how can this not resonate with you? How can you say like, okay, well, this is okay, but this isn't because it's too detailed? Like, what? Like, no, I feel like the proof's in the pudding, but...
It's so cool. So like I said, Nancy Reagan, I was just watching something a couple weeks ago, right? And they were like, Yeah, she had her astrologer at the ready, like all the time.
Yeah.
You're right. And you know, back in history, we've looked at kings and queens who had mediums, psychics, astrologers. It's so, the stars are so integral. Like like the North Star has guided human beings on this planet for eternity. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, think about the position of planets, how Mercury retrograde affects people. It affects technology. So just like even people who aren't even into like woo in any way, shape, or form, and they talk about Mercury retrograde, and I'm just like, oh, and so I'll start like talking about stuff, and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, but you know Mercury retrograde, you know about it, and they're like, yeah, everyone does, and I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. I'll just go back to my corner now.
Speaking of Mercury retrograde, so like we're currently in a Mars retrograde too, right? And have been for, is it 3 months or?
It's been a bit.
It's been a while. And so when Mercury retrograde kind of came inside of that, into the placement that it's now, I was like, oh, whatever. Like Mars is in Aries, which is its home place to be. It's like crazy fire, and like I'm like, forget it, Mercury, this is like nothing. Although it has been a little bit annoying. And so what's really interesting is like it's so cool to say to people, hey, like, here's the foundation. It's built on like the I Ching, the Tree of Life, all these things. That didn't matter to me because what I learned it resonated so much with me. So you don't have to believe in those things. And so you just have to go like, wow, does this explain part of my character? Oh, that's fantastic. That's all it needs to be, right?
Yes. Exactly. I look at it like, even if you're skeptical going into this, if you try it and you make an appointment, it's like, okay, well, is she nailing everything? Is your chart basically saying things that resonate with you? Do you agree with things? And if you feel that, yes, it matched up with me, then I feel like you just can't deny it. It is what it is. And the information is the information. And I think when so many people do this and it resonates with them, then it just, there's something to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just how I feel.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this was so like eye-opening for me because like, okay, like a lot of this stuff was like, yep, that's me, 100%. And then a couple other things that you told me was like, you know what? Like after we were done our reading, after I was thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense now that I'm thinking about it. I've had some time to kind of take it all in. That makes so much sense. And just reflecting back on everything, I'm like, wow, okay, all right. I'll try this instead of what I've done in the past because I shouldn't be doing what I've been doing if I want to get somewhere else, obviously. But yeah, this is like, I think I said it last week. I'd recommend everybody give it a shot because it's just, for us anyway, so eye-opening.
Well, one of the things that you brought up in both of our readings is like in terms of like the earth where we tend to do well. And you asked me about like being around water. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I love like being around water. Like for me, I either want to be like in the earth or I need to be in water. And you're saying like shores. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like both because you have the earth and the water. And it's like, yes, that's what I need. But for Alex, you asked him about like the mountains, and I was like, oh my God, and he loves the mountains and just like the elevation, and it was just so like, it's weird to hear that information and just be like, but it also helps because it makes you think about like where you might need to be to do better with something. So if Alex is working, he might need to be up higher, like on the 3rd floor instead of the basement. And for me, it's like sometimes just to recharge, it's like, go over to the brook, and just kind of be by it, or the pond or the beach or whatever it is. And it's just like, it's like, it inside, but once it's put in front of you, it clicks and you're like, I know I felt that, but now I get that's why I feel that way. And that's what I should be doing.
Gosh. Okay. And so you guys are talking about your environments that you're well suited to. So that, and that's something that I love to look at with people in their readings, because for me, when I learned about my environment where I'm well suited, what it does, so like getting a reading just takes the guesswork away, right? Like you don't have to wonder now, like, okay, I'm feeling, I'm in a rut. Like, what am I, I don't know, I should do something. And then we like externalize, we look out, we say, well, what worked for this person? Okay, well, they have a home office and it's, right off the front foyer in the house. Okay, you try that. Nope, that doesn't work for me. Okay, and we try to figure out what we want to do for ourselves by looking and assessing other people. Mm-hmm. Whereas what your chart reading will do is it just goes, hey, forget that noise. Monique, get to the water. Yeah. Alex, get up high. I don't care if that means like on a mountain or just the highest point in your home where you can like be with your laptop to get inspiration, look out, like, get that perspective. So a person with mountains would be like looking for perspective, and mine is kitchens, and kitchens sounds weird, but I mean, I'm also a holistic nutritionist, so that's kind of interesting. But it's all about alchemy. It's about taking, which is probably why I love human design, it's about taking a bunch of different things and turning them into something new. And it's like, okay, well, what do we need in the moment? Okay, let me pull from my magical bookcase. Like, what are all the things that we can pull together to make something new happen? So it's like, I was a video game player when I was a kid. I was like lived for them, but we're talking like Super Mario era, right?
Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Yeah.
You guys know.
Yeah, we're children of the 80s, so we know. What was that?
Okay, yeah, that's right. Sorry.
We're freezing up a little bit.
We just thanked Mercury. So it just takes the noise away. But so what I love about human design is it's like astrology. Well, okay, I'm going to tell you about the difference between human design and astrology in a second. But what it's like a map code. It's like somebody has given you the map code to your life. And the difference between astrology and human design, so human design is like the stage. So it's like you're in a play or something, or wrestling, like it's the ring, it's the environment that you play upon. Mm-hmm. And then astrology is your character. It's like, what does your character do? What are all the things it's going to get up to in its life? Astrology gets really into the like, when should I, move? When should I have a baby? Like all those things. Whereas human design is like, who are you going to be in the situation? Like who are you as a person? And then what you get to do is all about the astrology piece. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
No, that makes total sense. And that's awesome.
Does that make sense? No, that makes total sense.
Sorry, yeah.
I always goof on it.
No, it doesn't just make sense. It makes total sense.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It makes sense. Absolutely.
No, it when you were saying it in like the map code, I'm just like, yeah, because and it basically like it charts you out, but again, it's like as you're talking, it's like I feel like I'm basically visualizing everything in my head, and it's just clicking even more. And yeah, it's wonderful because I'm just like, oh my gosh, yes, and I'm understanding it even more now, even though I thought I had a good grasp on it, and now I get it even more. So I'm really hoping that everyone like listening and watching us, I hope we're not too over their heads with what we've talked about. I hope it's making sense to everybody, because we obviously know what we're talking about right now because we've discussed it before. But again, I think this is like really important for everyone to explore themselves. I think just having that understanding of themselves, and even if you're a skeptic, just trying it. Give it a try. Give it a whirl.
Yeah. Give it a whirl.
Yeah.
So the other thing we look at are profiles. And so the profile is a little bit like, the character you play. Mm-hmm. So there are 12 different profile combinations that you can be. And so we like to look at those. So we kind of drilling down a little bit more. So Alex, can we talk about yours for a second?
Yeah, please.
Okay, awesome. Amazing. Okay, so Alex in human design speak, we would say you're a 2-4 pure generator. So the 2 and the 4 are your profile lines. And the profile, like I was just saying, talks about sort of your character, a little bit like we talked about astrology is really into your character. This is a little bit about how you do life. So the 2 on our lines refers to it's called the Hermit. And I know that sounds like a funny way to say it. I just want to see if there's like a totally different way that we can look at the natural. Okay. So rather than just like look at, the Hermit, you're also natural. So the Hermit, somebody who has the 2 profile line, this is something that you'll learn about yourself if you do human design reading ever. The 2, this is like total human design secret. So the 2 doesn't naturally know what they're gifted at. Like, people will look at you, Alex, and be just like, wow, I can't believe the things that he can do. Wow, he's such a natural in the ring. Wow, he's like, his character is so incredible. And it's like, it looks effortless to us. And so to people who have this aspect, it's really shocking to the rest of us, because we think how awesome, like, the things that are really unique about you, you would never go around saying, like, these are things I'm amazing at. Like, that would kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awkward. It's uncomfortable.
Exactly.
But there you are.
Yeah.
There you are, just like brilliantly toiling away, like effortlessly doing the thing that you do, and you come out when you're called out by the right people. Like, for the right circumstances, you'll come out, she'll play, you'll be there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's so cool, right? So like to one of the strategies we talked about for you was really make sure you hang out with and surround yourself with people that can mirror back to you those genuinely wonderful qualities about you, the things that you're naturally good at.
Mm-hmm.
How does that resonates with you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think I might have even told you before, like during our reading. Yeah, it feels weird when people tell me stuff, because I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that's just how I am. Like, so what do you mean that's good or whatever?
It's like he doesn't get, like, he seriously is like, what are you talking about? Because he doesn't get it. It's just like...
I really don't. Like, for me, like you said, it feels weird. It does. It feels weird. It makes me feel awkward if somebody says, oh, wow, you're good at this. Or I'm like, okay. Thanks. It feels weird. It's like,
that's legit been his reaction. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the time. I don't think I'm special in any way. I think it's just me.
Right.
No matter how much I tell him how special he is.
Yeah. You're chipping away at me slowly but surely.
Yeah. And the thing is we, like, the world needs what you have to give, right? And so when we like benefiting everyone.
Can you repeat that again? It just froze for a second.
I'll let my Mercury up. Yeah, I can see when it does that. So I'll we need you to we need those pieces and parts of you. So the other thing that's interesting, I was listening to the episode recently where your friend Jamie was on. Is that
superstition?
Yes. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm part Irish. The Irish are crazy superstitious. Like,
did we miss any?
What's that?
Did we miss any that you guys have?
Oh, I was actually thinking about it. I think human design has changed my brain so much that, like, I have actually dropped so many of my superstitions.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's weird. I used to be like, okay, so as like a half Irish kid, my grandmother was always like, she was so funny. She was like, Michelle, an Irishman never does this, or an Irishman always does that. It was always an Irishman, And and it was like, I don't know, but there were so many superstitions that you actually started to, like, make your own up,
Yeah.
And it was like becoming a very limiting worldview.
Oh, well, that was like when Jamie was talking, like, oh my gosh, she said it's basically like fear-based and all curses and evil eyes, and it's just like you have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
I did like having the red ribbon in the glove box. I was like, that's genius.
Yeah.
Yes, we actually, like, I went out, I bought red ribbon. My parents, like, I gave them red ribbon. Like, a bunch of people, like, they're like, yeah, red ribbon. And when you think about it, what harm does it do?
Exactly. Totally. No harm at all. But yeah, what was I saying about the superstition? Oh, so anyway, all that, I don't know what I was saying there, so I got so excited.
That's all good.
Overwhelmed. But, like, okay, so what I'll come back to is, okay, so your second line. So the Hermit is what you're conscious of, Alex. So you're like, I tell you about it, you're like, yeah, I see that. And then we talk about the what human design calls the opportunist, which I've heard called the networker, which I prefer. So the networker is a real people person. And it's interesting because, like, when I heard you talk to Jamie, that people person came right out. It was like, yeah, I'm here for the, like, I'm loving this. Like, you got excited. This energy took over and you were just like, yeah, this is totally lighting me up. And it was cool to see that, like, hermit piece, because I see, like, I'll see your energy will be, like, very observant and, like, you know, kind of surveying the whole thing, which is a very hermit type tendency. But the networker is also in you. And when you get fired up, you're just like, boom, here I am. Like, I'm not afraid to talk. Like, I'm going for it, you know, and I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's totally me. 100%. I will. I'll sit back. I'll survey the situation. I see my in, or somebody says something that gets me. Watch out. Get out of my way. Like, yeah. That's
exactly. Totally so you find out. So it's interesting. So what, like, we talked about the conscious and the unconscious side, right? And the neutrinos and the planetary implant effects. Let's say. I don't know. I'm so excited, you guys. Like, it's like coffee or kombucha. I haven't.
So, I'm the same way.
Yeah, right? Oh, okay, just take a breath, Michelle. My manifestor's getting ahead of itself. So the second line, that networker piece, it's something that you might not identify with. Like, you might more identify with being like the observer and that kind of stuff. But when I show you, oh yeah, but you've also got this, like, networker piece, and the networker is literally, like, it's like about, we all win. Like, I want all of us to win. I want things to succeed, right? Which is a very fourth line thing to have. And when you can see your conscious and unconscious pieces, it's so beautiful. The unconscious piece, so your networker side, right? Just for example, there's nothing you can actually do to really change or manipulate that into something else. It's just going to be who you are. And I think that's really valuable to know. So yeah, if you feel like, oh, here I'm coming out of my shell, I'm doing this thing, it's like, you know, your hermit's like, holy crap, okay, my networker is, like, pushing me out there. It's like getting me out, and I've got this going on. So yeah, it's a fascinating interplay between the conscious and the unconscious.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Yeah.
And it's so true. Like, that's just how he is. And when he does, like, he's so quiet. And how can I explain it? So, like, in wrestling, when before I even really knew him, it was just always kept to himself, very quiet. And then he'd go out and do his thing, and it's like, wow. And then it's like him again, like, hey, how you doing? Good. Just kind of like,
wasn't that bad,
okay.
Was it?
Well, we've talked about before on the show, he used to give me the fuck off vibe. So, because I used to, like, go around, like, I am a hugger, and I am just like, I love everybody until you give me a reason not to, and then it's even hard for me to hate you. You have to be horrible. And, like, I go around and hug everyone, and I'd be like, hi, and you'd just be like, hi. What's wrong with you?
Oh, man, totally. I'm a hugger, too. And so, like, you know, the strategies that we're given. So we're given a bunch of strategies to help us, like, and that's one thing I love doing in human design reading. So you guys might have heard me say this. So I always say, like, have a pen and paper handy. Of course, I'll record the session and whatever, but I'm constantly going, okay, you want to write this down. Okay, this is how you can work with it. Okay, this is what you want to think about doing. Because I'm really interested in the practical application. Like, let's have this be a real living embodiment, like a living in meditation, really, right?
Yeah.
So something really cool. So the other part of human design, so if you look at, it's called your body graph, and it kind of maps out your whole chart, and it looks like a little kind of outline of a person and all these shapes and numbers. So the numbers inside of your chart are called gates. And there are 64 different gates. And at the time of your birth, some of those will be lit up or not. Now, if a gate is, if two gates are lit up and their lines meet to form a channel, that kind of gives you an extra layer of superpower. And Monique, I was looking at your chart again today, and I was just like, you and I have, oh my gosh, we have a similar gate. So we both have the gate of surrender or enterprise. So here's something super cool. So gates will give you, they're like kind of advanced. So I don't usually talk about, well, I do talk about channels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even talk about all the gates because it's like so much for you to absorb and work with and watch in your life at first. But like, people will say to me, like, you've had your own business for 17 years. I don't know how you do it. Like, that's crazy. And then I start going like, oh, is that weird? I don't know how I do it either. I just do it.
Yeah.
The gate of enterprise that you and I both share. So I'm curious to find out. Can you hear me okay? Or am I doing the freeze thing?
It was like a second and it came back.
Did it? Okay, great. Amazing. Okay. So the gate of enterprise, it has this ability to like be very charismatic and to persuade people to see things your way, to get people excited about stuff. And when I hear you on your podcast, I'm just like, you are very like, excitable. Like, oh yeah, okay, that you got me wanting to watch movies I never thought I would want to watch. You know, you guys are like,
we're like, this movie is so bad, you need to watch it.
Yeah, and I love the heads up. It's like, okay, I know how to take this now. But yeah, so the channel of enterprise is about like just being able to get people to see things in a certain way, get them excited about something. And that's a really great entrepreneurial channel to have.
Yay! When you were saying that, it just reminded me. So Jamie, who's on the superstition episode, so we were at our friend's wedding last year, and I don't know, I like to have fun, and so if I'm at a wedding, I don't even care if I like the music or not. It's like that energy, and you want to get that like good energy, and you want everyone to be happy because like somebody you love and care about, it's their wedding day. You want everyone to be having fun, and it's celebration, and yes, like this is awesome. Let's like revel in the awesomeness of it. So we're at the wedding, and I'm like going around like dancing and like just kind of like just like getting everyone going.
Just being you.
Yeah. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, they're going to be like, Monique, sit down and shut up. You're just like, stop dancing, stop being everywhere. Because I'm just like, hey, let's dance. Get out. Come on. And so Jamie's like, you should be a professional wedding guest. And I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, like you get everyone going. Like you're so bright and energetic, and you just kind of like get everyone in the mood to want to have fun and dance. And I'm like, that's a profession? How much money can you make from that? I could totally do that.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But you just reminded me of that. I totally forgot about that.
So that reminds me, I have a friend of a friend, and I think this guy lives in LA, and he loves sports. And he created a job for himself where he's the guy that riles crowds up. Like he's the guy witnessing, like he's just in stands, and he just looks like a fan. And he's like, I think he's been on commercials and stuff too. Like that's a job, you guys.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm putting it out there. If you want me to go to your wedding and get people to have fun, if you're boring or you're just nervous, like about anything, I will go and I will like get everyone dancing and have a good time because it's just how I am.
We should go together. We'll be each other's dates and we'll just like completely
yes. Room. I'm like, my head's gonna pop off. I'm like vibrating so high. I'm so excited.
One of my favorite things is to go to a party where I don't know anybody except for the person who brought me, and I just like work the room. I just love to go to parties where I don't know anybody, and it's like, okay, tell me about yourself. And I just do the manifestor thing. I just like pop from person to person and like cross-pollinate. It's
interesting because I typically, if I don't know anyone, it depends on the energy of the room. It depends on the situation. And if I feel like it's good energy, I usually kind of like tend to go to like whoever has the best energy. But a lot of times like people always come to me before I can even like, I'm still feeling things out. And then all of a sudden like people start coming over to me and I'm just like, hi. And it's like, okay, this is cool. I didn't have to do anything.
That's pretty amazing. I am not that. I am the person that goes to people, and then I'm just like, my standard line is like, hey, I'll be right back, and then like I never come back. I'll come back at like 3 a.m. once I've like done the room, and then I'm like, awesome. Hey, I'm back. They're just like, I'm exhausted now, so whatever.
See, I'd be the person where you're gonna be like, hey, I'm back, and then somebody else comes over, so I'm like, I really have to go to the bathroom, I have to pee, like, and I'm just like waiting, like there's a line, and I'm like, I'll pee sometime. But yeah, that's funny that you say that. I feel like you need to live close to us. We need to move somewhere where we're closer together. We get in so much awesome trouble.
Oh boy.
Listen, just when the borders open up, we're going to make it happen.
Oh my God, yes. I'll freaking knock those borders down. I don't care.
All right. Settle down. Settle down.
I'm excited.
I don't know. I just met some neighbors up here in Canada who are going to Florida tonight, or like I don't know. I'm like, wow, good for you.
Wow. No kidding.
That's awesome.
I guess they have a place there, but yeah, I cannot wait. I have so many of my favorite people are in the U.S., and I'm just like, I just
want to like go on a tour and like see, like we've met so many people through this podcast all over the country. It's like, I just want to do like a U.S. tour, and even now Canadian tour too, but like go around like North America. And then there's like even awesome people in South America. It's just, I need to travel the Americas just so I can meet everybody. Because I'm just like, I just want to hug you and hang out with you. And just like, I don't know. I always feel like I want people to understand how important they are and how special they are and how much they make a difference in people's lives, because especially like people who put themselves out there. So if you have a podcast, if you're a guest on a podcast or something, you're putting yourself out there, and you really set yourself up for speculation. Like if you look at our YouTube, like some of the comments people make, we laugh at it because a lot of them are like, we have this one clip where Alex is being his heel gimmick and he's like being a jerk. And they're like, one comment was like, I've never heard this podcast. I've never listened to it before. This is the first time I've heard this clip, but I don't know if that's your like, you know, brother, partner, boyfriend, husband, but girl, run. And it's just like, yeah, or like people be like, oh, this guy's a dick or whatever, and just based off that one thing, it's like, but you put yourself out there, you try something. And I think anytime somebody does that, I think whether or not everyone loves it, you're still putting yourself there, and that deserves something. Like, hey, you did that. And knowing how, just what wonderful human beings these people are who are doing it, they're such good people. It's like, I just want to like go around and hug them and just tell them like, you're awesome, and just keep doing this.
Oh, that's so interesting. So, you know, that is something that I really thought about. So, you know, being worried to put oneself out there, and it does take courage.
Yeah.
And so when we look at the charts in human design, the different centers, so like we talked about the chakra system, so the different centers that we're looking at all have, I look at things in like flavors. They have a different flavor. And so one of the centers corresponds to the spleen, which I know sounds really funny. Like the spleen purifies and cleans blood. So what are we talking about here? Right. But in human design, it's really like where our fears live. And, you know, some of those fears might be activated for people. And I know certainly I've looked into my chart in detail, and I've been like, oh, wow, I can see how I've got a gate that's fear-based that makes me feel nervous about putting myself out there. But knowing that, and knowing that other people don't have that, has been a really interesting exercise. So that's something that people can do, is like evaluate, okay, well, I've got this flavoring, I've got this like potential to have fears about putting myself out there. And then you just kind of work backwards from there. Like, okay, well, what am I actually afraid of? And like, what am I losing by not putting myself out there, you know? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it's more comfortable. So there's just like endless possibilities to look at all of the different parts of yourself according to human design. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing is just like to live in flow and to just be the person you chose to be, like in this lifetime around, like just embrace who that person is and hang out with people who like that person, and just the potential to have a much more comfortable life. Like, so since you guys have learned about your charts, have you found more self-acceptance in certain pieces and areas?
One of the things I was telling Alex was I hate promoting myself. So on the podcast, I don't like to promote my Etsy shop, my tarot reading, anything like that, because I feel like, no, they just want to hear the podcast. They don't want to hear that. And even like my own social media account I made for like my tarot and organite business, I was like, I feel so weird posting stuff because, yes, this is why it's here, so I can market myself, but I feel so awkward putting it out there. And then after the reading, it was like, I need people to give that invitation to be like, to listen to me. Like, so I can read people and I can, dip in and I can help, but you need to ask me. You need to give an invitation in some way. So I need to put myself out there so people know, hey, she's there. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to feel less guilty about doing that. And I'm going to market myself more because it's like, I know I'm good at what I do, but I feel so weird saying that to people or even like putting it out there, but there's no way people are going to know and even say like, hey, yeah, I'd love for you to do that. Or, give me that invite, give me that opening to do it unless I put myself out there. So that was a huge help for me, because it made me feel less guilty and made me realize like, this is why things don't work this way. And this is what I'm going to have to do. And when we were talking during my reading and you're like, well, you have a podcast and you put yourself out there, so people are obviously listening. They want that information. I was like, you're right. Eureka. I get it.
Light bulb moment.
Yeah. So it was so helpful for me, even like, just to look at that one thing among many.
Yeah.
But that was super helpful for me because it lifted that guilt and that feeling like I shouldn't do that. It's not my place. Nobody wants it. And I realized if you have that mentality, I do have a lot to give. And if I have the mentality like, oh, I don't want to bother people, then that's what's going to happen. Nobody's going to want anything. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start talking about it more.
Yeah, it's so cool. And also, like, you have the third line, which I have as well. So your third line is the experimental learner, the scientist, the try it out and see. And so, like, that can be scary. Like, it can be scary of like, oh, I don't want to put anybody off. I don't want to be promoting this thing all the time. But yeah, just feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah. And,
awesome.
And one of the things is, with my reading that you said that really made sense is, you're able to help people through your experiences. And that's how I learn. I learn through experiences and being through it. And I've spoken to so many people. We're just having a conversation and it's like, oh yeah, I've been through that and I get that. And, I'm not in your shoes, but this is what I did and it helped, or little things like that. And they're like, wow, you get that connection and you're able to help. But for me, it's like, I have to go through it. I have to have these experiences. And even though they're not always the best, it kind of brought me up to where I am.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. It just makes things so much easier to just go with the flow in that way. And again, like bumping up against our conditioning, like what we took in from movies, pop culture, right? Oh my gosh, just think about the dating world, you guys, right? Like what boys and girls, men and women take in through pop culture. Yeah, it's entertaining, but if we're guiding our own selves based on what we see in the external world, it could take us years before we figure out what works for us.
Right.
And it's just like a shortcut.
Yeah. And so the episode that's coming out the week before this one, it was your reading that kind of prompted us. It got us talking in a conversation. And the episode's going to be called Let's Get Philosophical. But the reading that you gave us prompted us to start talking more and get deeper about things. And I start going off. I was just like, we are programmed. Like, you need to be yourself. Like I talked about, I started going gray at 21 and I was so ashamed. Like I have to cover my gray hair. And then I finally got to the point of fuck it. I'm going to be who I am. And I'm not going to keep hiding who I am. I have to be my true self. Like, I'm all about the truth. But if I deny myself of my truth and who I really am, then how am I helping anybody else? And so we get in like these really deep conversations, but it was your reading that really triggered Alex and I to kind of get in that discussion and kind of be like, let's put that out there. This is how we feel. This is what we think. Let's get it out there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a pretty deep, all over the place kind of conversation.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I just realized the battery's dying on the computer. What? Do you have the plug? I just looked, I'm like, oh, battery at 2%. Okay. we better plug this in. Give us 1 second. I'm just going to move the screen.
I love your banner, you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have enough slides?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
There we go.
Also, I love that you not only have a podcast that's like, you can get on podcast platforms. Okay. I also love that you do this visual thing, because you are talking about a lot of movie stuff. And so, like, I just think it's such a cool thing, because people who love movies also love to watch, like people talking.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we were recording, and we talked about like, oh, let's get like a YouTube channel so like people can see us. I talk with my hands a lot, and they can kind of see certain things. And if we have a guest, they can see the guest. And I was like, oh, let's do that. Yeah. And I, knock on wood, I feel like we've had a good reaction so far. I always think like, are we too boring for people? Like, is this enough? Well, when you see like celebrities, when they have a podcast, they have this awesome studio, and it's like very fancy looking, and then it's like, this is just in my kitchen.
Yeah,
with a backdrop.
This is totally a kitchen table type operation.
Like for us, like I'm all about, like you said, like you're the kitchen. I'm like, I love my kitchen. I love cooking, and I just like, it's about love and comfort and family. And so it makes sense for us to do it here, because this is the comfort area. Like if we were doing it in the basement, I don't think it would have the same vibe to it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Thank you. So is it like, in terms of human design, like as we're going to start to, wrap up, is there anything else you want the people listening and watching to know, understand? Any common questions that might come up that might help them towards understanding, like in regards to scheduling an appointment with you?
Yeah. Okay. So it's an incredibly accurate, intricate reading that, people will get when they decide to go forward with this. And it takes a reader a long time to be able to understand all the intricacies. So, it really is like the person who's doing your reading, whether it's me or whoever else, is interpreting and sort of translating this really, the language of your soul, really, and your being, if you will. Yeah. And the places that we'll go and that we'll look at will be so personal to you. It's really such a privilege, and I really do my best to hold a sacred space for people, because it's very personal. And sometimes even in my chart, I've got like, sometimes people's charts are just like so bad, like everything seems easy, or it seems like that Hollywood ideal. It's like, wow, that's so great, you're here to be a leader and all this kind of stuff. But sometimes people will have a little aspect in there that may have caused them some trouble in their life. And, to hold, certainly that shows up in my chart, where there's been like, okay, you're going to have some times where you're going to have to go through experiences, and they're going to teach you really deeply. But how do you transform that, and how do you embrace that and make it beautiful? So I really do my best to hold space for people, and to always look at what the potential is, always look at the most exalted version of yourself that could potentially exist, whether that's even for you or for your children. anything like that. So I'm really proud of that piece of what I can offer people. And that might come back to, I've done a lot of things. That's just how my design is set up to be an investigator. But years ago, I worked at a wellness center, and I did a lot of things there. But a big piece of it was holding space for the patients that were coming in that were not well. And, really like looking at the confidentiality around that. And so I just hold a high degree of honor when I'm working with people. And doing this work has allowed me to feel more whole and complete as a person. I feel like, oh, okay, this is how I can help humanity. So this is one of the ways that I just feel I can be of service to people. So it's just like, to meet you guys was just a delight. Two of my favorite people that I've met through reading. So when you asked me to be on the podcast, I was like, of course, let's do this.
And I have to tell people listening, like, so after our reading, Michelle and I were chit-chatting, and it was like I said before, like, I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. Like, we had things in common, and we just had this awesome conversation, and I'm like, this is a wonderful human being. Just like, I feel so lucky that it's like the people, especially lately, and I think, so I keep getting the number 444 coming up all the time. And that's like, my angel number. And like, I feel like it's telling me I'm on the right path. And we're super into synchronicities. And I feel like lately, the more we just kind of like keep going towards what feels right for us, we're meeting better and better people. And it's so awesome. It's like, holy smokes, I didn't think we'd meet as many like great people as we have. And it's mind-blowing because, we look at it like, who are we? We're nobody. We just put ourselves out there, and we get to talk to these incredible people who have so much to give and so much to share and have all these wonderful, like, positive qualities to them. So here you are saying, like, you're so excited. But for us, we were like, oh my God, she wants to talk to us and be on our show. So it really goes both ways.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys, you were ready. You were ready for your readings. Definitely. You came, you wanted to know, you were right there in the process. And I feel like we co-created it. I shared some information and you told me, yeah, this really hits, or, this is what's going on and whatever. And it's so beautiful when people come to a reading like that, because it's just so much more meaningful. So yeah, the fact that we connected and that you had me on your podcast is just very special. I think you've got a fabulous podcast. I love the variety of topics you get into. I think that's so cool. And I just, really, really pleased to be here.
Thank you. Awesome. One thing I do want to tell people is, if you schedule an appointment with Michelle, don't be intimidated to open up. Don't be afraid to share. Like, there was stuff, and I'll put it out right now. Like, I don't have a ton of friends. I have, like, friends, but like you see in movies, how like there are these close-knit groups of friends who are like friends forever. I'm like, I've never had that. I've never had like this, just like, I have my friends I've been friends with since kindergarten, but it's not like we're always together all the time. And I was like, what's wrong with me? And she like opened up. So it's like, I'm opening myself up. I'm putting myself out there. It's like, it's a little vulnerable when you're doing it, but it helps you get those answers. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and to open up, because sometimes you kind of have to open up those sores to get them to heal, like to figure out how to heal them so they can heal. So definitely, like, I think everyone should be able to open up. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Don't be embarrassed. We said in the last week's episode, like, who cares? Just be you and help yourself grow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely an explanation for everything. And then there's a strategy to help with that too in your chart. Like, it's definitely there. I had the same thing. Like, did we talk about this in your reading? Like, I know a lot of people and I have a lot of friends, but that Hollywood depiction of like the best friend, and it's in my chart, it shows up why that can be, come and go or ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And it's just so wonderful when you don't have to judge yourself against external standards. You can just be like, oh, right, I'm guiding myself home. This is what I'm here to do. This is how I'm here to operate. Yeah. And, for me, I mean, this is a little bit vulnerable, but for me with the whole realm of friendships, I've like always wanted that best friend connection or whatever, but it's like, it's really everywhere in my chart. It's like, you need to be that for you, Michelle. And it's like, but that's not what I'm seeing in the external world. Right. And it might be true for other people, right? It might be part of what they're supposed to do for the collective. But for me, I'm supposed to light my own light. I'm supposed to be that light for me. And in that, the right things come, as a result. And it's such a different way to look at it.
And I think part of that, and we talked about in last week's episode, is programming. Again, you see it on TV and you see it on movies. So when you don't fit in that box, you think, what's wrong with me? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with you. And that is okay. You don't have to have your like best, closest, besties right next to you all the time where you guys do everything together if that's not you. And you don't have to necessarily be a loner as well. And you can have people kind of come and go into your life as they need it or as you need it. And that is okay. There's no box. Like, screw the box. The box is gone. Like, forget the box because there's nothing to fit into. So, yeah, I love that you brought that up because I think people need to start accepting themselves more for who they are and realize that it's okay and that, you're awesome because you are you. I feel like Dr. Seuss for a second. It's like, you are you and there's no one better than you. But it's true. And I didn't mean to rhyme that.
All right.
So, Michelle, how can people find you?
Oh, okay, great. So you can find me a couple of ways. I am mostly on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, you can find me at Working Well by Design. And my website is workingwellbydesign.com. And if you want to email me, you can go ahead and email me. It's michelle@workingwell.ca. So that's my email address, and that's where you can find me.
Excellent. We'll get that information in our show notes. And just so people know, you can schedule your appointment online. It's super easy. So she's pretty much made it super simple. Takes, 2 minutes to schedule it online. So
do it.
Do it. And the information will be in the show notes for you. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us and for explaining everything and showing everyone about human design and how wonderful it is and giving us this opportunity to learn about it. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you to both of you as well. It's been really fun.
Thank you.
I'm like, is this mic on? Jeez.
Well, we had to stop recording.
We're back now.
Yeah, we were just so we were hanging out with Michelle. We ended up talking for another 30 minutes, an hour.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
We're like, oh my gosh, look at the time.
Yeah.
She is so wonderful. I just love her. I absolutely adore her and love her. So I'm going to say it again. Support her, get a reading, and support yourself by getting a reading. Understand more about yourself.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, what you just said, understanding yourself, that's what I think the human design thing can definitely help people to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, I can only speak to myself, and obviously you speak to the experience you had, but it definitely helped me to understand more of why I am the way I am, I guess, and different things and different strategies I can do to better maximize myself and my environment and everything else. So yeah, you're only doing yourself a service by getting this service, Yeah. So
again,
definitely book an appointment.
I told Michelle, awesome. I was like, after having this reading, I was like, oh my gosh, everyone needs to do this. Everyone who works with anybody else, just every individual, family should do this, couples should do this.
Yeah, definitely. For our kids, especially. I think if you're a parent, you have children, especially young children.
Mm-hmm.
What a tool to use to help kind of guide your child to whatever they're designed for, whatever they're meant for. You can help to maximize their growth, their development, especially if they're younger. It's just an invaluable tool, I think. And like I said, I said it earlier, even if you're skeptical about this kind of stuff, I went in with an open mind, but you know me, I'm also a healthy skeptic as well.
You were slightly skeptical.
But I went in with an open mind, like I said, and I mean, everything, boom, nailed it. Like, that's me. And that's, do it. Just do it. I'm rambling now. Yeah, just do it.
It's late here. But so workingwellbydesign.com is her website, and she's on Instagram. You can make an appointment online. And I hope that this episode was educational for people. I hope that people just saw light on something different. Like, you know, it's not like, oh, it's a tarot reading or it's this or that. Like, I feel like this is so different. Not a lot of people know about this. And that's just why I want to get the word out there. Why we want to get the word out there is because, again, we want to know the truth. We want to understand as much as possible. And this is just one of those things where I feel like this could really help people. And why would you not want to share that?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And again, you always say, we want the truth. Well, this is kind of like
finding the truth about
yourself. Yeah. And I mean, everybody, we've said it before, everybody's unique. Everybody's their own person. And this just kind of reinforces that statement. Yeah. For sure. So if you want to, again, we'll put all of the information on how to get a hold of Michelle in the show notes. And if you want to get a hold of us on social media, we have what do we got? We got Twitter.
At Homewrecker Pod.
I'm already messing up the show clothes. Jeez. Are we back on Instagram? What's the status of Instagram? Still banned for whatever reason?
I'm hoping by the time this comes out.
Good grief.
Yeah.
All right. So Instagram, maybe. Look for us.
Homewrecker Podcast.
It might be there. It might not be. That all depends on them.
Message Instagram and tell them to let us back.
We still don't know what we did. But, not on Instagram currently. We're on Parler.
Yes, the Parler app. Homewrecker Pod.
And we have our website as well, homewreckerpodcast.com. You can find us. What?
You took my line. That's my line.
We have a website.
No, it's too late now.
Right,
wow, it's late here. So
wow, I'm just off. I apologize, everybody. It's you know what it is? That daylight savings time. That darn daylight savings time is what's doing it. It's throwing me all off.
Yeah, and full moon. So you combine full moon.
I gotta blame someone in something, savings. Right? Yeah. And of course we have YouTube.
And Brighteon.
And Brighteon as well, so you can catch the video version of the podcast.
Yes, for all those watchers out there, please subscribe and like.
Yes, please, and thank you. And if you haven't already, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever they use,
or wherever you hear your podcast. Subscribe, like.
Yes, please. And if you get a chance, also please leave us a 5-star review. It just helps us to be more discoverable. It helps people to find the podcast. It helps. They have like charts and stuff like that.
And feel free to. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, go ahead. I was rambling.
Just feel free to reach out to us to talk to us. We've had people message us with some really cool stuff on YouTube. We got into a conversation about D.B. Cooper. With one person, like people are reaching out, they're talking to us. Oh, we forgot we had somebody who sent us like this really cool ghost story, so we'll get that out there soon. Yes. She sent us like an audio recording of her story about when her daughter was little. It was really cool. So share your stories with us. Reach out. I mean, last week we got philosophical and we really went out there, and after Michelle and Alex and I stopped recording, we were talking about some of that stuff. And it's really cool when people get what you're talking about, but we are kind of out there with some of the way we think and the things we believe. So that's okay. If you don't agree with us, or if you do, or you have something different, like share it with us, because I don't know, it's just really cool hearing from other people and seeing other points of views.
Agreed. And are we really that out there now? I feel like the way we're seeing things, I feel like maybe it's just because we're putting ourselves out there and more people that are like-minded are coming towards us or whatever, I don't know. But I feel like more and more people are starting to kind of see things and feel things the way that we're...
I think it's because of the vibration we're on. I think we've kind of put ourselves on a certain timeline, and like we're just kind of going in a certain direction, and that's why we're kind of picking up those types of people.
You're getting wacky now talking about timelines and stuff. Now you're getting out there.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Why are you sorry? Don't apologize. Yeah, don't apologize. I'm just saying you're getting out there. Now about different timelines and stuff. So
whatever.
Right. So definitely reach out to us. We love interacting with everybody. We love hearing from you. And keep those comments coming on YouTube. Some of those are entertaining, especially like the ones like you.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like the girl who's like, "Run, girl, run!" It was the missing 411 where he's doing his like heel gimmick. It was great.
I haven't done that in a while. I haven't flipped out in a while in character, so
yeah.
I don't really miss it either. I don't think I'm gonna bring that back.
I think we kind of had like the wrestling gimmick in the beginning.
Yeah,
and that kind of
faded as we've kind of found our footing as podcasters, I guess.
Yes, we don't really need to have that gimmick anymore.
Yeah, we're just us.
Yeah.
So this is us normally most of the time. Yeah, the wrestling persona and all that stuff. It's kind of...
We're moving on.
Yeah, we move past that now.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else you want to say before we get out of here? Why don't you plug your...
Yes, thank you. I'm gonna plug myself because I'm a projector and I need to put it out there. So if you want a tarot reading or if you want to buy some organite, I also have some smudging spray. I make these awesome beeswax candles and I use my own incense blend with them and crystals.
They smell awesome. They do
smell so good. Thank you.
I'm biased, but
and I make my own incense blends. So, yeah, you can go to my Etsy shop, Wonders by Monique, and buy it there. You can also go to my website, Tarot by Monique, and you can get more information about me. All the stuff on Etsy is there. You can schedule a tarot reading. Or just message me on Twitter. Send me an email, tarotbymonique@protonmail.com. Yeah, reach out to me and... yeah, buy some stuff, go to my Etsy shop and get a tarot reading, and I do oracle readings. I just got some new decks, so I'm going to be doing that soon. I'm super excited. Yeah.
All right. Rock and roll.
Shameless self-promotion. Woo!
Nothing wrong with that.
No. You got to put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so do we know what we're talking about next week?
Were we going to talk about the I can't say it.
You sound like Joe Biden on the campaign trail. I'm gonna hit it.
How do you say it? I can't say it. It's so bad.
Amityville.
The
Amityville Horror.
I always struggle with that word. We could never live in that town.
No, because if everybody said, "Where do you live?" Amityville. Huh? I live in Amityville. What?
It's like, what's that word? Sea anemone or something like.
Sea anemone?
No, but you know what I mean. Like the words that are weird and you can't say it. So yeah, Amityville. Did I say it?
Amityville. Yeah.
Okay, Amityville Horror. We're gonna be talking about that situation.
The Amityville Horror case.
Yeah.
The haunting.
Yeah, but it's the movie.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk all about it. We'll talk about the movie, talk about the real life story.
Whether or not real life.
Whether or not we believe it. We'll talk about all of it. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times.
And we'll see if I can say it right.
Yes. Kind of like jujitsu. For the longest time, I could not say it.
I feel like we're going to have to get a jar, and every time I mess it up, I'll have to put like a nickel in. We'll see how much money I have by the end of the show.
That's going to be full after an hour, for sure. So yeah, that'll be next week, and until then, I am the Golden Greek. I still say it, even though I've kind of dropped that whole persona of being a jerk. I'm Alex Arion. I've been joined as always by the beautiful. You are beautiful.
Thank you.
Very beautiful. Gorgeous. Definitely gorgeous. Amazing trophy wife, the lovely Monique.
Thank you. And you've been listening to the Homewrecker podcast.